In class this week, we are going to focus on the origins of yoga. Yoga is mentioned in the Rig Veda and also referenced in the Upanishads, though it's most likely developed as a systemic study through the 5th to the 6th centuries before the Common Era. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali date from the 2nd century before the Common Era, and gained prominence in Europe and North America in the 20th century after being first introduced by Swami Vivekananda, pictured on the left-hand side of this slide. The Yoga Sutra of Patanjali is a collection of Sanskrit sutras on the theory and practice of various types of yoga. The Yoga Sutra was actually probably compiled in a range of time from right around 500 before the Common Era to right around 400 after the beginning of the Common Era. However, it is attributed to a single sage, Patanjali, who, as a South Asian sage, is said to have synthesized and organized the knowledge about yoga from much older traditions. The Yoga Sutra of Patanjali was the most translated text in the medieval period and classical period, having been translated into about 40 South Asian languages and 2 non-South Asian languages at the very least, including Kawi or Old Javanese, as well as Arabic. The text fell into relative obscurity, however, for about 700 years from the 12th through the 19th century, and only really made its comeback in the late 19th century due to the work of Swami Vivekananda and his partnership with the Theosophical Society, as well as other European and American scholarly groups. Thus, it gained prominence again as a comeback classic in the 20th century. There is some doubt as to whether or not the sage Patanjali is the author of all the works that are attributed to him, as there are a number of known historical authors by the same name or similar names. A great deal of scholarship has been devoted over the last century to the issue of historicity or identity of this author, or perhaps group of authors. Patanjali continues to be honored nonetheless with invocations and shrines in some forms of modern postural yoga, such as Yananga yoga and Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga. The purpose of yoga is, according to the text by Patanjali, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirota. This terse definition hinges on the meaning of 3 Sanskrit terms. So Tamni has translated it as yoga is the inhibition of the modifications of the mind. So nirota would be inhibition, vritti would be modifications, and chitta would be mind, or heart and mind sometimes. Swami Vivekananda translated the sutra as yoga is restraining the mind stuff, the chitta, from taking various forms or vrittis. Bryant, another scholar, has stated that to Patanjali, yoga essentially consists of meditative practices culminating in attaining a state of consciousness free from all the modes of active or discursive thought, and of eventually attaining a state where consciousness is unaware of any object external to itself, that is, only aware of its own nature as consciousness unmixed with any other object. This would mean that yoga chitta vritta nirota is literally yoga mastery envisioned unforeseen confluence, or the mastery of yoga is the confluence of the envisioned and of the unforeseen. So to start off the discussion post this week, I'm just going to raise the question, how would you currently compare the term yoga as used in this short introduction to the origins of yoga with your understanding of yoga in sort of popular usage, probably referring to hatha yoga.